Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome to the Pixelnauts Twitch channel. My name is Mark, also known as Fluffy on Twitch, and today we're going to be doing some programming, my weekly programming stream. And yeah, so today we're working on some interesting stuff. Hopefully it'll be interesting anyway. Some visual effects, code, and triggering visual effects at the right time, and yeah, some fun stuff like that. So we can just kind of jump right into it. It might be a little dry in spots. It's not, we can't work on the mission system until I get this stuff done. So if we get through this stuff, we could possibly do that a bit later as well. But yeah, we're gonna jump into it, and I'll just kind of explain what we're doing today through my code window here. But yeah, thank you guys for stopping by. I really appreciate it. And yeah, let's get into it. So, let me turn my music down here a little bit. It's a little loud. Oh yeah, and I guess for those of you that don't know, we're going to be working on our new game at Pixelnauts called Rocket Rumble. It's a party racing game. Hey, I'm not sure who's using the Pixelnauts tag on Twitch. I'm guessing it's Alex, but how's it going? Just getting started here. No, it's okay. I'm just never sure who's using it, because technically if I type in restream, then it also shows up at as Pixelnauts. Yeah, so here's what we're doing today. So we're working on some visual effects stuff, and I haven't really done too much of that on stream, I don't think. So I can kind of run through a little bit of how I kind of redid our visual effects system recently, just to make it a little bit more user-friendly and make more sense. And I always talk about that a lot on these streams, like how you can make your code user-friendly, easy for artists to use, anybody that doesn't understand programming, or just even another programmer that doesn't want to sit there and try to sift through your whole script. And try to figure out like what your thought process was. So I redesigned the effects system with that kind of mindset here. Oh, there we go. How's it going, Alex? Yeah, sorry I didn't really tell you guys I started streaming. I was eating supper and stuff, so I just kind of rushed down here to start it up. Wah! The squawk. The Squawkenstein. Not lies. Ann Illusion cooked some really good she got like Italian sausage meat and cooked it with cream cheese, and then put it like she like roasted it inside of these little I guess they're just little like hollowed out mushroom cups. Oh my god, so good. And I ate like 5 of them. They're only like maybe this big, and it was so filling. It was ridiculous. It was so good. Yeah, so basically what we're trying to do today is we're trying to trigger effects in a specific spot in the game. So if you guys know the game here, we can play it for a minute here, and I can just show you. So let's just load the game scene from start here. We have our game all segmented into different scenes for all of our levels and stuff like that, which is actually kind of is awesome, I think, the way that we organized everything. Everything loads. If you know anything about Unity, you'll know that about scenes. So you can see along the side here, everything loads in its own scene. So we have like a main game scene that has the game controller, and then we have a scene for all of our UI elements, and we have a scene for the background of the UI. We have a scene for all the data to do with the customization system, and then we have a race scene that like holds the players and stuff. And then when you load a track, it loads a new track scene on top. And then when you're done with that track, it just completely unloads it out of memory, and then you can load in a new track. So it basically only loads what it needs. And it loads them on top of each other like that. It's pretty sweet. It's a very nice way to organize everything. And if you know anything about Unity, you might wonder like, what's it like moving objects from scene to scene? But it just acts normally. When you have all those scenes loaded, it just functions as if it's all one gigantic scene, but it's way easier to keep track of. Like if I want to edit the customization system, I can just load up my customization scene and go. I don't have to load any of the other crap, so we don't have to sit there and wait for 20 minutes for our scene to load because it's got like all of our tracks in it or anything like that. And yeah, it's just a really nice way to organize your game data here. So we got our game going here. We'll just jump into a local play so I can kind of describe to you guys what we're trying to accomplish today. Move my mic up a little bit here. I think Anne is watching a show with the kids. She's been so busy because we're doing like the homeschooling stuff for the kids, and you know, I've been working during the day, so I haven't really had time to help out with it very much, although I have helped out a little bit with it. Because especially for Archer, he's in kindergarten, and it is hard to get him to want to do his online schooling stuff. And, you know, it's understandable. He's just a young guy. Pooped and sore, yeah. It's pretty brutal. So, you can, you know, we have a bunch of effects in the game, obviously. So, like, when you hit a rock, for example, you can see that some rock chunks come off. That's triggered by my new effects system. Or just the effects of, you know, like dashing back and forth like that. That all uses the new system that I made. But what we're trying to do today, so we have different effects for the items. You can see I can throw an item here with the dog, and it throws it out. But there's no effect when he actually throws it. Like, there's no firing effect. Like, if he had a gun, there's no, like, muzzle flash, essentially, is what I'm trying to add today. So I'm going to be adding in a new scriptable object that holds a bunch of new effects data. And then we're going to go find the correct places in code to call all of that stuff. And the other thing is that Ben has actually been working on redoing some of this stuff. So we have to, like, look at his new code and see how he's calling it. Like, you can see that bomb there, too. It's got all kinds of effects, but there's no actual effect when you throw it, and there might not need to be one, but we're going to add it in for everything so that if somebody wants to put an effect in there, they can. Generally speaking, I like to do that as much as possible. Like, Alex asked me to put an effect in for one item specifically, but I'm like, you know, well, why don't we just put it in for all of them? Because then if down the road you want it, you know, I'm not just hard coding in an effect for one thing. That's the best way to do everything, really. You gotta do it all generic and shit. So anyway, that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to do the muzzle flash of visual effects here, basically. So, I did have some stuff for this setup already, but it's not going to work because of some of the stuff that Ben changed in the code, which is going to be a much better way of doing our... Basically, our items were all just triggering by code, but now he's syncing some of them up with the animations, so that when you shoot that gun and you can see that recoil animation, we make sure that the effect of the actual item, like exploding or whatever, happens right as that, you know, gun blast goes off or wherever he wants it. So we have to change things up a little bit, but we'll get out my trusty notepad here. Notepad. And yeah, so basically, here's the things that we're going to want to do. We're just going to tally it out here. So the first thing we're going to want is we are going to want to have a scriptable object that stores item types and VFX firing reactions, basically. That's like the first big thing. We need something that'll store all that data. And then the next thing we're going to need to do is we're going to need to go through the item scripts and... Or actually, no, sorry. This is not the next thing. The next thing we need to do is... we need to look at the FX system and add in new entries for our new VFX, and then we need to create new VFX prefabs for those effects, and then I don't know why I put these dashes in here and then started doing it. This is so stupid. Oh cool, you push the enlarger blast. Nice. Oh yeah, Anne's I don't know if you know this, Alex, but Chris got an iPad Pro with the pen. because like I guess she was probably talking to you about it. I think she asked you like what she should get, and we were like humming and hawing about whether she should get a Cintiq or whatever, but she decided on getting the iPad Pro. You may already know about that, I'm not sure, but it's pretty sweet. Pen just came in the mail today. Oh, it's an Air 4. Sorry, I don't know what it actually is. I thought it was a Pro for some reason. Anyway, so after we've created new VFX prefabs, we need to slot in any existing and temp VFX into them. This is all like going to be pretty simple, but you know, we're just writing it out just so I can keep it straight in my head here. And then we're going to need to go through each item script and add VFX calls at the right time. And finally, what we're going to do is we are actually going to do something fun for once we're through all the nitty-gritty of this and we have it working, we're going to create a custom editor window to slot in VFX. And this will be like time permitting, which I think we should have time because I don't foresee it taking me any more than an hour to do this first chunk of stuff. So then I thought it would be fun. I could show you guys how to make a custom editor in Unity, which is essentially making your own window. So I have one here already. I created a custom editor window called the Dev Options panel. And this is just a dockable window, and you can create and put whatever you want in it. So I have like a bunch of different things you can tweak here for, you know, sizes of characters and speeds and all that stuff. And you can actually tweak it on a game-wide basis or a track-specific basis if you have a track open. And then I have like mechanics options. Like I just added this thing in today, a toggle, so you can turn off the gameplay UI on and off. And I have item toggles here, so you can turn items and stuff on and off. We have input stuff in here, like sprites for all the different controllers and stuff. And then we have a debug menu here. So I'm going to show you how to make a simple one of these where somebody will be able to come in here and slot in the effects that they want to use without having to go and search for our scriptable object that actually holds that data. So yeah, we'll do that for like the last little bit, 45 minutes or so of the stream, just for fun. It's pretty interesting, I think. And it's super duper handy. Like if you know how to do custom editor scripts and custom inspector scripts, you can customize Unity like so much. It's so good. It's such a good tool if you're working on a team. You know, if you're just working by yourself, maybe it's not super handy, but especially if you're working on a team, it's just like, it makes everything so much cleaner. You know, as opposed to somebody having to go in and find the object that this script is attached to or whatever and tick all these checkboxes. You know, I just have this little diagram with the pictures and you just click on and off. Like, how sweet is that, right? That's way better for anybody else that's trying to control it than trying to go into a script and change that crap. Anyway, let's close this out so I don't need that right now. So, the first thing that we're going to have to do here is we are going to create a new data type here. So let me just go into my scripts folder. Where do I have it open? I have it open here. Okay. You can see, okay, look, if I show you guys this in the my big tall project window, if you guys take a look at our project, you can see why it takes me so long to find stuff sometimes. So here's the base level of our project, right? Here's the art folder. Within the art folder, there's about 20 different folders. Within each of these 20 folders, there's about 20 more folders. And then there's folders inside of those folders and folders inside of those folders. And that's just the art folder. Then you go look at Ben and my... This is just from two programmers. Our scripts folder, it's the same kind of thing. We got like 20 folders. And inside this gameplay scripts folder, there's another 20 folders with folders upon folders upon folders upon folders with like tons of scripts in each one of them. You know, 5 scripts here, 3 scripts here. So many scripts here. So you can see how your naming conventions and your organization can become very important. We haven't even been working on this project for a full year, and already our project, the amount of assets we have in our project is staggering. And you know, looking through them all, if they were improperly named and improperly sorted, would be an absolute nightmare. So keep that in mind. That kind of stuff is very important. Even if you're working by yourself, you're going to get super confused. The Pro is a lot. You got the Air as well, Alex. It seems like it was worth 1K more or half an inch more. So the Air is fabulous. Wait, the Pro was another 1,000? Man, Apple with their pricing schemes. It's absolutely crazy. The way that they charge for stuff. They're like, oh, you wanted 16 gigs of RAM instead of 8? How about another $1,000? Gee, thank you, Apple. You're so kind. Let's see, that's about $30 for RAM and about $970 for parts and for labor. I know they're not as bad as they used to be, but they used to be even worse. Anyway, totally off on a tangent there, obviously. So we are going to go into our bumper item, our bumper stars scripts folder. We're going to create this stuff in here, just because in my current way of organization, it fits well in here. And well, actually, we do have an FX thing. No, no, we're going to leave this, and I'll explain to you guys how this stuff works in a bit, because this is all my new FX system stuff, and when we get into it, I'll show you guys how that's working. Basically, I have all my effects hooked up through an object pool now that dynamically adds more as needed. It's pretty sweet. And so yeah, we're going to go into item components here. We're going to create a new script. Create a new C# script, and we're going to call this script... we're just going to call it item VFX. As long as we don't have something else... Oh, actually... No, sorry, that's not the name I was thinking. Because it's not an item VFX, it's the data associated with that. So, sorry, we'll create another script. We'll call it... Come on, Unity. Repaint the editor. Do whatever you need to do here. We're just going to call it item FX data. Hey, Skeeter, how's it going? Welcome. Thanks for coming by. I really appreciate that. Just doing some programming. I'm working on some visual effects coding stuff today, so... and I know you haven't been to one of my programming streams before, so hopefully it's not too dry for you, but I try to keep I try to overly explain everything for people that don't really know anything about programming, because, you know, just to try to make it interesting to watch. Yeah, so we're going to create this new class, and this is going to be a data storage class, essentially. And we may not have a lot of data in it to begin with, but we're still going to just set up like the typical structure that I would want for a data storage class. So it's not going to be a mono behavior, because as I've said before, a mono behavior is a type of class that can be put on a game object, and we're not going to need to put this on a game object. This is just strictly for holding data. Now, because it's strictly for holding data, instead of being a class, we can actually make this into a struct, which is basically a data organization type of class. And, you know, there's lots of reasons why you might want to use it over a class. It basically, one of the main reasons comes down to how it's garbage collected. If you can store stuff in a struct with Unity, you should. Oh, thank you for the follow, Skeet. Oh, you want to learn on a Raspberry Pi? That's awesome. I actually don't really know anything about Pis, but I would love to get into one, because I've always wanted to build like just a tabletop arcade cabinet with, you know, that can just emulate whatever I want. I think that would be so cool. You know, I have devices that I can use to emulate stuff, but it would be really cool to have a tabletop cabinet for emulating arcade stuff with like a real CRT monitor in it and stuff. Would be so cool. Anyway, so this is going to be our data struct, and what this is going to hold is the data that we need to denote an effect here. So you can think about it this way. What data are we going to need for this visual effect? Well, I told you that this is for firing. This is for firing effects when an item is shot out, right? So we're going to need to know what item you're shooting. And then we're going to need to store an effects trigger to trigger the actual effect and tell us what effect we're going to be using. So the first thing that we're going to do is make this serializable. Now, all that means is that it can be viewed and edited in the editor. A little bit beyond the scope of explaining here, so I'm not going to go into that, but just know if you want things viewable in your inspector in Unity, then they need to be in serialized classes. And we basically only need 2 types of data here to begin with, and we may need more later. We may not even need more, but like I said, I still like to set up the structure and try to make everything generic. So the first piece of data that we're going to need is a type. So we made a type when we were doing our bumper star scripts to denote different types of items, and we called it killer. So we have an enum called killer that we can call for this, and I'll show you. So we'll do public killer, and you can see that the text turns green. That means that that's our enum here. And if we click and go to peek the definition of that, you can see that this is our killer enum here. It's just a public enum killer, and these are all the entries that you can have: obstacle, bomb, projectiles, homers, shockwave, black hole, grapple, rocket roy, sword, Captain Marv, shield. And you can notice if I mouse over that each one of these items coordinates to a number. So essentially what this is this is just a list of items that each correlate to a number that you can call from somewhere by writing the item's name. So instead of having to remember that the grapple hook is number 6, because you're never going to remember that, you can just type grapple and it will translate that for you. Now there's other reasons, and there's other reasons why you would make an enum, but that's the basic definition. So this is essentially a tag. We're giving our object a tag saying this is the type of object it is. So we're going to call it type, and we're going to set, oh wait, we can't set a default value for a struct, so I'm not going to bother with that. So it's going to have a type, and the only other thing we really need right now is a public effects trigger. Now, an effects trigger is a class that I've previously created that holds all the data for what makes up a visual effect, and also holds functions for actually calling that visual effect and playing it. So we're just going to call this trigger, just like so. And here we have our data type. This is our item effect. And we can make copies of this for each item type that we want to do, and I'll show you how to do that next. Hey, no problem, Skeeter. You got work to do? Yeah, I'll be on for a little bit, but no big deal. Thanks for stopping by for a bit. I really appreciate it. Okay, so now that we have our data type, basically, that's not really what it's called, but that's just what I'll call it for now. It's just a collection of data represented as a single data thing. So I'll try to explain it in simpler terms, right? So let's say that we want to have a type that represents dice, right? So we have these 2 different dice here. They both have different numbers of sides, and they're both different colors. But each dice is going to have a certain number of sides, and they're each going to have a specific color. So we could make a type of data that says, okay, a dice is going to have a number of sides, which could be anything, and it's going to have a color. And then that's your data type here, your struct. That would be like your dice, and that's your base data for what makes up a die. And then later you can use that struct to be like, okay, I want to make a 20-sided die that's blue, and I want to make whatever this one is, 100. Oh, this is technically a D100. It's like a 100-sided die, but really it's just a 10-sided die. That's red. So that's the whole point of this, basically. That's the best way I can describe it to you. So now I'll show you how we're going to use this. So we'll go back into our project, and we'll make a new script. This is going to be our scriptable object. So we're going to create a new script, and we're going to call this item effects default data. And this is going to be a scriptable object that holds all of our default data here. So again, this is not going to be a mono behavior. This is going to be a scriptable object. It's going to derive from scriptable object, and we need to put a little line up here to tell Unity where we can create this scriptable object from. I just have to grab it from another script because I can never remember how to say it. So we're going to open up, whoops, that's not what I wanted. We're going to open up another scriptable object here just to grab the line of code. So it's this line of code here. So what we're saying here is we're saying create asset menu. So, and then we're giving it a file name. So we're saying the name of this file is going to be, when we create this scriptable object, it's going to be called item effects default data. And this menu name, this is where we're going to find it. So it's going to be in a menu called scriptable objects, and then the same name that we used before here. So item effects default data. And basically all we're doing there, this line right here, is so that we can go into the Unity editor once it loads. And we can right click, we can go to create, and we can find that scriptable objects pull down here that I was talking about. And then here's our item effects default data object right here. So we're going to create some entries into this object. And this is just going to hold all of our stuff. So the best way to do this is in a list. So we're going to create a public list. Item fx data. Oh, wait, whoops. What was it called again? Yeah, that's what it was called. So we're going to create a list of those structs that we created earlier. See? You can see the little red color to denote that it's the same thing. And we're just going to call it item effects data. And we're going to make it equal to a new list so that we can actually set some stuff here. Now, the reason I'm doing this is so that when we first create this object, we don't have to go through and set all the tags. So we're just going to go... actually, you know what? No, we're going to keep it as a list. My bad. So we're going to create a bunch of new entries to this list. So the first one we're going to do is going to be, we're going to call it Projectile. Whoops, no, that's not. So we're going to say new item effects data Projectile. I think this is how you do it. I might get an error, but we'll figure it out if I do. And we're going to make it equal to... Maybe we just need to do it like this. I forget exactly. No. I think we do new item effects data projectile and then... No. No, it can't be that. It'll be item effects data projectile is equal to new item effects data. And then we should be able to set the data for it here, but it's probably not going to work. It's not valid in the given context. So maybe I could just do it like this. Like this. God, I wish I could remember. Oh, this is how we do it. Right. So we're adding a new one. And then inside of these, we want to set the some of this data. We don't want to set the trigger data, but we do want to set the type data. So we're going to say type equal to killer dot whatever we want. So the first one's going to be projectiles. And we can put a comma and we can declare another one. And then we'll go out to Unity and make sure that this is working. Because there's a chance that I'm just totally screwing it up. I'm telling you, programming and streaming at the same time is difficult. Okay, let's see. Killer dot... I can't think in the same way when I'm actually like trying to speak at the same time. It's pretty challenging. So let's go make sure that this is working. So essentially what we're doing here is we're defining our list ahead of time so that we don't have to do it in the inspector, which is really tedious. So we're going to go down here. We're going to create a new scriptable object of type item effects default data. We're just going to keep it as the default name. Here's our object over here. You can see if we open up then we should have an array, or we should have a list with 2 elements. Element 0 is the projectile, and element 1 is the homing projectile. That's perfect. So that's exactly what we want to see. So it is working. It is working. So we're going to make entries for all of our different items in here. Just quickly. And you don't have to do this. You don't have to define it in line like this, but I like to do it this way because then I don't have to set it up later. Why is it doing that stupid weirdness? Oh, because it's all the same one. So we'll do bomb next, and then we'll do Rocket Roy, and then we'll do Shockwave, because those are the most common ones there. And then we'll do one for the items that aren't in the game yet. So the sword, the grapple. We're going to need one more, I think. The black hole. Yeah, then we're going to need one more. And it's going to be Captain Marv. Why doesn't it like that? It like did the stupidest... It's going to make me like manually edit the indentation of this. What the hell? That is the weirdest thing. I've never seen that before. That is just straight up bizarre. It really doesn't like that. It doesn't know how to handle the indentation of that. Of like new items being created in line like that. It's so weird. I don't know why. Anyway, we got all our items defined here now, and if we go back out to Unity, we should be able to see them. We may need to create a new copy of this item effects default data, but that's okay. We can do that if we need to. Yeah, see, we're going to need to create a new copy of it because it's still got the old data in it, so that's no good. We could also just reset it, I guess. I could have done that, but that's okay. We'll just make a new one. Yeah, here we go. Now we got all of our elements. So we got bomb, Rocket Roy, Shockwave, sword, grapple, black hole, and Captain Marv. So we got all of our elements here. And now you can see that we would be able to slot in effects here for them if we want. And if we ever add some more data to this, you know, we can do that eventually. So like, if we need sound effects eventually or something like that, we can add in more data. But for now, this is all the data that we need, and might be a little overkill for this implementation. But you know, setting up this way to begin with is good, because then if you ever want to expand on it, you have the freedom to do so. So now, what was the next item on our list? Okay, we got the scriptable object that stores the VFX firing reactions. So now we need to add new entries for the new VFX that we want. So we need to create new prefabs for all of these VFX here. So we're going to go into our this folder here. Actually, let's just drag this into the center of the screen here. Yeah, okay. So we got our thing here. Let's no, we're going to keep it this way. So these are all our effects prefabs. So you can see that these are all FX triggers. They all have that FX trigger script I was talking about on them. So we're going to need to create some new ones here. You can see we have a bunch of different ones for the health system as well here. So we're going to probably put them in this folder. So we're going to copy one of these and drag it into our scene here. And that pulls out the prefab. And then the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go down to prefab and we're going to unpack this prefab. And we're going to rename this. So we're going to rename this to item... What do we call it? We're going to call item effects. We're going to rename this projectile fire. We should probably make these something slightly different. Item act effects for the projectile. And that will be our new thing. And for now, we're just going to leave this visual effect that's already in here, but we will replace that soon. And now we want to turn this into a prefab. So we're going to drag this back into the folder where we dragged it from. And you can see it's going to create us a new prefab here called Item Act Effects Projectile. And now we've got the new prefab. So we need to do this for each one of our new things here. So we're going to unpack this prefab. We're going to duplicate it a bunch of times. And how many do we need? Let's pull up our script just so I can see them all. I'm going to throw this on my other screen for a second. Okay, so we got projectile. The next thing we're going to need is homing projectile. And then we're going to need bomb. We're just creating prefabs for each one of these that can be edited. Then rocket Roy. Then Shockwave. Then sword. Grapple. Black hole. And Captain Marv. Okay, do we have all of them? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 plus projectile is 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, so I guess we have 9 items. So we'll delete these 2 as we don't need them. And we're going to drag all of these guys into our prefabs folder. Oh, we can't do it all at once? Shit. Why not? Can't create multiple prefabs at the same time? What the hell, Unity? What's wrong with you? I guess we'll drag them all in one by one then. Why can't it just click and drag and make a bunch of prefabs? Come on, Unity. You can do better. So now we got all of our prefabs in here. All 9 of them. We don't need them in our scene anymore. That was just an easy way to create them. So we're just going to delete these out of the scene. And we're actually going to just revert our discard changes to this scene because I don't want to save anything messed up that I didn't want. So now the next thing to do is slot in these effects, right? So we'll go into our item effects data and I'll drag that out here to the middle of the screen so you guys can see that better. Oh, that's not very good, is it? There we go. So this is the guy that we just created that's got all our data. So we're just going to slot all these in. So first we need the projectile. So we'll drag and drop our projectile prefab into there. Then we need the homing projectile. So we'll find that, drag and drop it, and so on and so forth. Bomb. Rocket Roy. Shockwave. Sword. Grapple. Black hole. And Captain Marv. Okay, so we got everything filled up. Yep, looking good. So these are all set now, so we're good. So our scriptable object is set up and ready to go with all of our prefabs. So now when somebody wants to add a visual effect, like for example, actually I think I have to sync the project, but if somebody wants to add a visual effect, now that they're all hooked up in there, all they have to do is come and find their prefab and they go, I want to edit the black hole. They come in here, they edit the visual effect over here, and yeah, it's already set up. They don't have to change the name or anything like that, so it's more handy. It's handy dandy. However, we're going to make it even more handy, don't worry. Okay, so now that we got that all set up, what was the next thing on our list? Our list, we got look at the VFX system and add in new entries. We got that. And we got create new prefabs for those effects. Got that. And then we got slot in any existing and temp visual effects. So we automatically have the check effect as a temporary one. Which, you know, is not ideal. Let's go take a look at our visual effects and see what one we have that might be a good temp one for items that don't have one yet. So the quickest way to find something in your project like that is you can come in here and see over here. It shows, hopefully you guys can see it over my stupid face. You should just be able to click this and then it will find it in your project in an unlocked project window, like right here. So you just click that. Oh, I guess it doesn't like doing it that way. Okay, so we're going to open up the visual effect then. Go into the hierarchy. Here we go. We actually need this. I forgot. So this is our visual effect. So we can click check here, and you can see now it's taken us to the folder that stores all of our visual effects here. So here's a bunch of them. Look at them all. And we can look at these. We can double click these to open them up and take a look at them. Let's just find one that may be good. Break, check. You can actually see them down here in the bottom corner, but you guys won't be able to see that, unfortunately. But you can see them play when you click on them. I'm just going to find an appropriate one. Oh, wait, I think I have Alex's Enlarger Blast in here. Is that what it's called, Alex? Enlarger_blast? Nice. Yeah, I've got it in here already. I don't need to sync the project yet. So, we have the correct visual effect for the enlarger then. So, we're going to lock this project window to make sure that it doesn't go away on us. We want to keep this folder open. And then we're going to find our... Oh, wait, I didn't make one for the enlarger. Oh, shit. That's like the one that I need. The one that you need, Mark. Come on. So we're going to unpack this prefab. Oh, I guess it probably doesn't matter that I opened it in here. Unpack it. Rename it to enlarger. You know what? I probably don't even have an enlarger entry to... Okay, so now we have the enlarger in here. And we're going to delete this out of here. We're going to open up our enlarger effect. And here, down here where it says check, we're going to change it to say enlarger blast. And in there, you can see that we have the check visual effect. So we want this enlarger blast in here, this one that Alex pushed. So we're just going to drag and drop the enlarger blast right in here. And you can see now that I have this open and we have the scene view here, I can click play on the effect and we can see it. I don't know what's going on with that. That's probably just my stupid computer not properly the HDRP stuff. It's got like an object in there. What the fuck? That's so weird. Oh, there, it's gone now. It was just like my computer baking the VFX. So there's our blast for when the enlarger gun gets fired. That's pretty sweet looking. Nice big exploding ring, and then everybody grows huge in size. So that one we have the correct effects for, but we won't have it for anything else. So we need to find a good temp effect for the rest of these. So when you shoot the projectile, for example, we don't want that huge enlarger blast. That would be ridiculous. So let's see what else we got. We need something small. Something small and quick. Can I drag this window? I don't feel like I can. Well, I guess I could just move the inspector. Damn it. Don't stop doing that. Yeah, so if you guys look over here, here we go. This little box here, the visual effects will actually appear in this box. I'm like totally screwing up my user interface here, but it's fine. Some of them sometimes don't appear. I don't really understand why, but see, here's one that's appearing here. Or laser shot, there we got, and you can actually like look, preview the visual effect in this little box, which is nice. We got an explosion, we got the enlarger blast, which I just hooked up, and those are the other effects for the enlarger. Lasso shot. Oh, that's the laser shot, sorry. Object explosion, ramp hit, respawn, rock barf, shield hit. Okay, that one actually might be okay. That little shield hit one, we could maybe use that one. Sparks. Thruster pop. Okay, let's use that one that I was talking about. Let's use the shield hit as our default. So we probably should have done this first, but that's okay. We're going to open up our different things here. We're going to rename this to... well, we can leave it the way it is, actually. We should probably just rename these all to just say effects. And we got our check effect here, and we were going to use the shield hit, so we'll just drag and drop that in here, and there we go. Now when we play, we should see our little shield hit. So we're going to open up each of our prefabs and change that. So check, shield hit. You can see how this type of stuff can definitely get tedious. This is why your project has to be very well organized. The enlarger, we already have the one we want in there for that. And then we got the grapple. I guess the grapple, we already have one. So we can use the lasso launch on that. No, actually, no, we don't want to use that, no. Well, we might want something different, but that one's going to play repeatedly, so we definitely don't want that one, actually. So that was for the grapple, right? Then we got the homing projectile. We're going to change that one to the shield hit as well. This is just our temporary, so that I can tell that it's happening in the game, you know? Projectile. Shield hit. Rocket Roy. See, Rocket Roy, we could maybe pick a fun one for that. Let's see. We could actually just use the enlarger blast for Rocket Roy as well. It'd probably look pretty sweet. Yeah, let's slot in the enlarger blast for Rocket Roy for now. And then we got the Shockwave. The Shockwave gun. That one might not really need an effect, because you essentially aim the gun at the ground and shoot it, and a big wave comes out, so it might not need a firing effect, but we'll put one in for now anyway. And, you know, we can always take these off later if we don't really want them. So we got... Where's that shield hit I was using? There it is. Shield hit. And... last but not least, the sword. Shield hit for that guy as well. Okay, so they all got that in them now. Now, we're going to reorganize our stuff back to where it belongs here, because I don't have to show that off anymore, so. And we're going to move our project window back down to where I had it. Reorganize our scene a little bit here. And now we need to go back and add in the reference to the enlarger that we forgot about. So in our item effects default data, we're going to need to add one more guy here. And that's going to be... Whoops. That's going to be a new item effects data, and it's going to be killer.enlarger. But I bet you we don't have an entry for that, and we don't. Because the enlarger doesn't actually damage you, so I didn't bother adding an entry for that. But we're going to need one now. So... what we can do about that, you can see we have an error because that doesn't actually exist, is we can just click and go to the definition of killer here. And we can just add it onto the end. So we'll just add enlarger. Now we got that on there. It's added to our default data. And... still doing dishes, Skeet? That's a lot of dishes. That's a lot of dishes. And we're just going to add in our 10th thing here and see if the enlarger appears. It should. So element 9. Oh, shit. Captain Marv. Okay, whatever. Let's just reset it. Yeah, there we got our enlarger now. Now we're just going to drag and drop in our stuff again here. So black hole, bomb, Captain Marv, enlarger, grapple, sword, shockwave, Rocket Roy, homing projectile, and regular projectile. There we go. So we got that all slotted back in there. You want to build a Pi so you can play while you're on your bike on the road with hotspot Wi-Fi. Oh my god, that's a crazy idea, dude. So you know what I have? I'll show you. This is one of the things that I have. So obviously I have hacked PSPs, I have a hacked Vita, I have a Razer controller that attaches to my phone, and that's what I usually use for emulation. But I've also got a little Ambernick Retro Game 350. It's just like a nice little Linux device with see if I can turn it on here quick. Oh no, it's out of batteries. It's a nice little Linux device that is strong enough to run most retro emulators, and it's just got a nice little 3.5 inch 320 by 260, whatever the native resolution is for the Genesis. This has it, so it fits all those nicely. Fits the Super Nintendo nicely as well, because the Super Nintendo is basically just like the Genesis but less widescreen in their native rendering resolution. Okay, so now that we got this stuff set up, we got everything set up here, so let's go back to our list. So we slot in any existing and temp effects. That's done now. So the next thing we need to do is we need to go through... Oh wait, actually, no, there's one more thing I forgot actually that we need to do first. We need to add the new VFX to the system. So now I can explain to you guys how the system works a little bit. Oh, you want to watch Netflix on it too? That's so cool. That's such a great idea. So, I have a new VFX system, and it's on our race controller object, so I'm going to open that up. I'm going to open up the race scene, and I'll show you guys exactly what I'm talking about here. Go into my scenes, main scenes, base underscore race. So, we have this thing called the race controller, and this is just a separate scene here. So you can see I have my new FX controller right here. So we're going to open that up. Now, this is where the object pooling part of things comes in. So I'll show you exactly what this looks like, right? We have this thing called the FX controller, and there's an item called FX pool, and then we have a template for a bank of visual effects. You can see now why kiddos aren't allowed to touch these. And we have a folder here of trigger templates. So you may notice that these are all of those prefabs, but we don't have the ones in there that we just made. So we're going to need to grab those, and we're going to drag all of those prefabs right into this thing called trigger templates. And you can see that it's added them now. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to FX pool. Actually, you know what? Let's not do it this way. Let's cancel what we just did. Let's open up the actual the prefab for this. Oh shit, I did not mean to do that either. So we're going to open up the prefab, and into our trigger templates, we are going to grab all of our new visual effects that we just made, and we're going to drag them into trigger templates. And I will show you exactly why we're doing this. So now we have every visual effect that the FX system can trigger. They're all in here. And then we have this FX bank template. So watch what happens when I start the game up here. We're going to start the game up, and watch the hierarchy here. Look at how it populated. So we had this FX bank template, and we had this folder of trigger templates, which have now all been shut off now that the game's running. Oh yeah, we're making a game. Yeah, I work for... I guess I haven't really told you this, Skeeter. But yeah, I work for Pixelnauts. I'm the lead gameplay programmer. And we're making a party racing game, and you can actually wish list it on Steam right now. If you scroll down into the Pixelnauts About section, you can find a link to the Steam page for our game down there, if you want. and check it out. It's actually not Pixelnaut's first game either. We have another game released on Steam, PS4, Xbox, and Switch called Lost Orbit as well. And we've worked on many other projects as well, like on Contract and stuff like that. So you can see that what this system did was it grabbed every effect out of our trigger templates folder, and it created a bank for that effect and created a bunch of copies of it. So you can see how these say FX bomb hit clone. Now, the reason that we do this is because every time a bomb explodes, we need to trigger an effect. And this is the effect right here. But normally you would think, well, why don't you just create it when it explodes? But that's very non-cost effective to continually create new items and then destroy them when you don't need them. So what this system does is, if we go over into the inspector here, I can show you, it saves an ID for these FX based on their names. It's a hash code. So you can see it's a big long string of numbers here. And it's got references to all of these clones of the bomb hit. So every time a bomb explodes, instead of creating a new visual effect, what the system will do is it'll say, hey, I need a bomb hit effect, and it'll trigger this thing and tell it, I need a bomb hit effect, and it knows to trigger this effect bank based on this hash code here, and this thing will say, okay, here you go. And it essentially takes this and hands it over to the part of the code that needs to play it, moves the object over to where it needs to be in the game, plays the effect, then shuts the object off when the effect's done playing, and moves it back into this list and into this location. And that is far more cost effective than creating a new object. So essentially what you're doing is let's do a visual representation here. So let's say that I have a visual effect that is this D6. Let's go into full screen for this bad boy. Let's say I have a visual effect that is this D6. And every time a bomb explodes in the game, I was creating a new D6 and then destroying it. And then creating a new D6 out of thin air and then destroying it every time a bomb exploded. So instead, what my system does is it says, okay, here's 3 bomb explosion effects. They're over here, they're turned off, but they need to happen over here. So it's saying, hey, I need a bomb effect. And it just takes one out of this list, moves it over here, turns it on, and triggers it. It plays, and then when it's done, it turns it off and moves it back over here and adds it back to the list. That way you're never creating and or destroying an item. You're always using items that have already been loaded into the game's memory, and that's the key. They're already loaded in, so they don't affect performance at all by having to load them in, because they already exist. So you load them in at the beginning. That's why there's usually a long load screen at the beginning of games, because they're loading in all those assets. And then you don't get any like frame stuttering or whatever if you do it this way. So that's why it's designed this way. So basically the system's saying, well, we probably might need 10 of these. And if we go over this amount, then it will start to create new ones on top of this list, but the likelihood of us going over this amount is negligible. So you can see each one of those new effects that we created here, like the enlarger effect has its own list of 10 enlarger effects to move over, or the Captain Marv has its own list of 10 to move over, just like I was just talking about. So that's what that all happens when you load the game. Before you load the game, those things don't exist. But when you load the game, then they load and they create all those up ahead of time. That's the whole point of an object pool, basically. Takes what you have, creates duplicates of it at the beginning so that all the loading is done at the beginning, and then moves them to where they need to be, shuts them off when they're done, moves them back into the bank. And you can see how fast it is, though. Watch. It's just like, boom, there they are. There's all the effect banks. Creates them really fast. So, but it's still better. Like, you might get a frame drop or something if you try to create it at load. All this stuff is now loaded into memory, so it's good to go. Okay, so now that I've explained that, Now that all of our effects are in our trigger templates, and they will all have effects banks with custom hash codes generated, so we'll be able to pull the correct ones. Let's go back to our list. And back to our notepad. So we've added our new VFX to the system. Now, we need to go through each item script and add VFX calls for the right item at the right time. That's the next little piece that we need to do here. So this is actually triggering the playing of the effect. And that's done through a different script. So if I open my FX pool script here, it's a different grouping of scripts, and I'm not going to like go through each of them or anything like that, but you can see that this effect pool script has a public function on it called Triggerfx. So I can call this from anywhere because FX pool is a singleton. So it can be called anywhere in the game as long as it's loaded in from an instance. So you can say fxpool.instance.triggerfx. You pass in these parameters. It needs to know what effects trigger you want to play. It needs to know what position you want to play it at, what rotation you want it to have, whether or not it's going to have a new object that it's going to be parented to, and whether you want to use local local transform, like positional or rotation data. And it's saying for each bank of effects, which I just showed you guys, those banks that have clones of the effects in them, for each bank that is listed on this, what it does is it has a list of effects banks, and at the beginning of the game it goes through each trigger in the trigger templates list and creates a bank and creates 10 copies of that when it loads. And then it's saying for each bank that exists, if the effects ID of the bank is the same as the effect that you've passed in that you want to trigger, then we're going to trigger that, tell that effects bank to trigger an effect, and then we can look at that. So that's another function call here called Triggerfx. We go to the definition of that, then you can see that we have a call here, passes in a bunch of the same data, and what it does is it says for each trigger in its grouping of triggers, because you remember it had a bunch of triggers there, we're going to see if it's being used. If it is being used, then we're going to make sure that we don't use that one. And once it finds a free one, see, this is the part I was talking about, where if they're all being used, it's going to add a new one by instantiating it. And once it gets to one that's not being used yet, it's going to say triggers at that index.play effect, and we'll go to the definition of this as well. And this is the final stage where it actually plays the effect. And what it does here is it sets the game object to active, it tags it as being used, it repositions the effect to where it needs to be, and it triggers the effect. And then once the effect is done triggering, it returns the effect to the pool. So the repositioning just passes in the position and rotation that you gave it and sets those things. And then the return function waits for a certain amount of time. So it says, while the visual effect still has live particles, don't kill the effect, basically. And then there's just the return function, which just sets its parent back to the bank and its local position and local rotation back to 0, 0. And sets its being used tag to false, and sets the game object as non-active as well, which just turns it off. Yeah, so obviously we're not writing that stuff today. I already wrote that, but I just thought I would go through and just try to explain it a little bit. Basically, you can call it from anywhere and tell it, I want you to play this effect. It checks the hash code, plays the effect, and handles all that stuff for you. So all we need to do is go into the item scripts and tell it to trigger those effects at the spots where we want them. My system will handle the rest. It's already done. We don't have to screw around with moving effects around and all that stuff. All that code is already written, and it's generic, so you can pass it any effect and get it to do that. So we are going to go into Ben's scripts here and find out where we're going to need to trigger this stuff. So I talked to Ben a little bit before streaming today, and he told me where I could find this stuff. So we need to look for a function called look for a function called use power up. So the quickest way for us to find this is just hit F and type in use power up here, and we're going to search the entire project, so the current project, and we're going to search, and it's going to find something for us. So here, we found it. We found something anyway. public override void use power up. So we're not going to want this one yet, because this is actually an overridden version of the original function. So we're going to try to find the root of this function. So we go to the definition of use power up. Or go to base, maybe? Yeah, here we go. So here's the base function. It's a virtual void, which means it's going to be overridden in several places. And you can see that it actually doesn't do anything because it's being overridden and new code is being written in all the spots where it's being overwritten. So what we're going to do is we're going to click use power up and we're going to find all the references to it here. And you can see that opens up a list down here of all the places where it's being used. One sec, guys. I gotta use my nose medication because I can't breathe through my nose. My nose spray. Sorry. Whew, ouch. That hurts. So you can look down here and you can see... Actually, you guys might not be able to see. I'll move this over. So you can see it's being used in the input manager, it's being used in the bomb script, and the jump jet script, and the lasso script, magnet script, rocket roy, black hole, bomb, enlarger, lasso, blah, 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 blah. It's being used in all these places. So we need to take a peek at all of these and see which ones we actually want to do effects calls in. So here's where it's being called in the input manager. What's this one for? On item. So this is when you use an item. It's saying if the player power up is not null and the player power up dot power up type is not equal to a non-assigned type, then it's going to say player dot power up dot use power up and pass in the information it needs. So let's look at the other places where it's being called. So it's being called in the bomb script. So we're going to want to use it in here, I would assume. So let's see what it says. Public override void use power up. And it's doing the base implementation of use power up. If the bomb object is null and context is pressed. If bomb object is mine. Delay removing object to ignore coroutine, blah, blah, blah. Bomb object at transform position. So here it's moving the bomb. And here, this might be a good place to call our effect, because you can see here that it's saying bomb object.audio controller.initialize the whatever sound effect. So this might be where we want to call it. You just kind of got to look at what's around and see, you know, oh, when the sound effect plays, that's when I want to call it. And, you know, we might have to tweak it later, but we can start with this. And like I said, Ben is transitioning some of these over to a different system so that they actually use the animation to time it. So we may have to, for the enlarger specifically, I'm actually waiting on Ben to finish his changes to it so that I can add the effect to it. But we can start with the other ones that are not going to be timed based on animations. And we'll do that in 1 minute. I am going to take a short break. I will be right back. I'm just going to go grab a drink, and then we will finish this up. So yeah, I'll talk to you guys soon. Be right back, guys. Yeah, sorry, Alex. I forgot. It's only been like that for like a minute or so. Or a couple minutes, because I went full screen to explain how object pooling works by doing a demonstration with dice, and then I forgot to switch back to the code screen. But I haven't actually written any code yet, so didn't miss too much. But yeah, I'll be right back. I'm just going to grab a drink. No, thank you for mentioning it, because I didn't notice it until I was like, oh, I'll be right back. But yeah, be right back. All right, guys, I'm back. Sorry about that. Yeah, so what happened to my music? Oh, it was just between songs, I guess. So yeah, I was explaining, but my screen was down because I'm dumb. That basically we're just looking through Ben's scripts to see where we want to call our item effects here. So, and we found the function call that we're looking for is called use power up, and now we're looking through because see we have, if you look down here, you can see that I looked for references of where it was being used. So we see we have one for bomb, one for lasso, rocket Roy, enlarger, projectile. We got a bunch. So what we need to do is add our code into these functions to trigger our effect. And I was just looking for a spot to actually trigger it. So I was looking through this bomb script and seeing what it did, and then I saw here there's like bomb object.audiocontroller.event initialize, and then audiocontroller.set power up base reference. So I'm not sure if we're going to want to put it in here or not, but that seems like that might be a good spot because it's oh no, I see. Event holding. So that's when the player is holding it. Notify that the power-up is now being held by the player. If the power-up has a function for the input button being held down, this should be called when the button is pressed down. So that's probably not where we want to trigger the effect then. We need to look for another spot. We need to look for the spot where it's actually being fired. Is held by player movement input. Yeah, so I may need to get some help on this stuff from Ben, but this kind of stuff like inputting all of these calls is going to be a little bit boring anyway, so we can move on to creating the custom editor window, because I think that'll be kind of exciting. And then once the stream's finished up, I'll get Ben to help me just finish hooking this stuff up. So if we were going to put it here, for example, I'll show you how we would do it. Because of the way I wrote the effects system, we can do it nice and easy. So we can say effects pool dot instance, because effects pool is a singleton. And then we can say we have a call to a function in here called Triggerfx. So this is how we would call and trigger it. It's super simple. And Triggerfx takes a bunch of parameters. So the first thing we need to do is tell it what FX trigger we want to play. Since we're in the bomb script, the FX trigger that we're going to want to play, obviously, is going to be... we need to refer back to our data that we made. Oh, right. I forgot at one step of this. So we have our object with all of our stuff in here. So we want to be able to say, okay, find the bomb item out of the list from the item effects default data. But we actually need a place to call this. So we have a script in our main game scene. So we're going to open up our main game scene here. We're going to save our current scene, although I don't think we made any... Oh, wait, we did make some changes to it because we dragged all those effects into the pool. So we have a script called databanks here that I made, and this holds all of our scriptable objects for the game, references to them, because databanks is a singleton. It can be called anywhere. So instead of having to drag in references and stuff to your scriptable objects everywhere, you can just call databanks.instance. Whatever you're looking for. So we're going to add a new entry to databanks here, and it's going to be public item... What do we call it again? There we go. Public item effects default data item FX data. And you can see that now once we've added that to our script, and if we go back to the databanks object here, once Unity decides to load, You see that now we've got an empty spot for that scriptable object, so we'll just grab our new scriptable object and drag it right in there. And now we can call this from anywhere in the game. So now that this is done, we're going to save the scene, and we're actually going to make sure that this is saved to the prefab. So we're going to apply changes to the databanks script on the game controller prefab. And then we're going to go back out to our code where we just were in the bomb script here, where we're calling stuff. And now when we want to tell it what effects we want to play, we're going to say databanks dot instance dot item effects data oh right, we need to find the correct one too, I forgot. Oh wait, no, we can do it this way. So it's going to be item effects data, and since it's a list, we have to tell it what item we're looking for. So we're going to do that by saying killer dot bomb, and oh wait, right, killer dot bomb. So remember how I told you the enumerators were all linked to a number? So you can see killer dot bomb is number 1. So we want to tell it to play the effect in slot number 1, but we can't just pass that directly in. We actually need to cast it. So how we do that is we do brackets and we say int, because we want it to be an int, and then that will cast killer.bomb into an int, I believe, or maybe I did it wrong here. Oh right, this is not the actual list. Item effects data dot the list, item effects data list. There we go. So we're saying we want you to trigger the effect that's located in the item effects data list in databanks at this number here. And the next thing we need to pass in is position data. So we're going to pass in we're probably going to pass in data to do with the player. So we have the player controller reference here. So we want this effect to play on the player. So we're going to say player. Is that the player controller reference called player? Yeah, player dot transform dot position and player dot transform dot rotation. So we're giving it our position and rotation, and we're just going to base it off the player and their position and rotation for now. We could tweak that later for each of the items, but for now we can just do it like that. And yeah, we're also going to be parenting this effect to the player. So we're just going to say player.transform. And what that will do is it will move the object in the hierarchy to be parented to this object. Now, what doesn't it like about what I've done here? Cannot convert from type item effects. Oh, right. Dot trigger. And that's our call right there. It's a little long-winded, but that's the beauty of it. This will call the effect, play it, grab it out of the pool, move it to the correct location, play the effect, then shut it off, move it back to the pool, all just from this one line of code here. That's how I love to set things up, so that they can just be called anywhere with just one line of code like that. It's not always possible, obviously, but in this case, that's how I set it up. And the reason that's possible is again, because FX pool is a singleton, so it can be called from anywhere in the game, kind of like a static class, but something that's attached to an object. You can call it from anywhere in the game, and it has the Triggerfx function, which in turn calls the Triggerfx function of that's defined in the FX bank, and the FX bank finds finds an unused version of that effect to trigger and calls play effect on that specific effect, which in turn just plays the effect, moves it to where it needs to be, triggers it, and then after waiting, it waits as long as there's no live particles playing still, and then moves it back to its previous parent in the effects bank. Works pretty good. So yeah, what we're going to do now for like the last little bit here is, instead of going through and calling all these and making you guys watch me try to find the right spot to put them all, because that's kind of boring, and I'll do that after. instead of doing that, I'm going to make a custom editor window to set these effects. So basically what I want to do is I want to create a custom editor window that edits this data here in a nice, easy to read fashion. And it's not as difficult as it sounds. It's actually pretty simple. We want to create a nice dockable window, again, like this dev options panel that I made before. We want to create something very similar to this. And it's going to house all our effects, and you'll be able to just like slot them in. Maybe we'll have a little picture of the item so that you know what item it is when you're slotting the effect in. So we need to create a new script, but we need it to be in the editor folder specifically for this to work. So we're going to create a new folder. We're going to call it editor, and you can have as many editor folders as you want all over your project. And they can be anywhere, and when the project is built, it'll grab all the scripts from all the different editor folders and have them as editor scripts. So we're going to want to create a new script in here, C# script, and we're going to call this we're going to call this FX editor window. Sure, we'll be super uncreative because my brain broken. Because my brain broken. We're gonna open this up, and this is gonna be our custom editor script for making our own window. Hey, Skeet. Did it open it? What the hell? Oh, we got a null reference. Oh no. S13 audio mixer stuff. Null references. Could we open the script, please? Here we go. So we're going to close this little references window down here. We don't need that now. So now what we want to do is we have our using tags up here, and if we're making an editor window, the first thing we need to do is we need to say using Unity editor, and that just tells the code that we want to use the libraries associated with making a custom editor window. And the next thing that we need to do is open up an old editor window script that I've done before so that I don't have to like look up the syntax of stuff. So we're going to look up our developer options panel. We're going to open that up. And we're going to drag that over here just for reference. See what we need. So, right. So instead of mono behavior, this is going to derive from editor window. Now we could make it derive just from editor if you want to make a custom inspector, but in this case I want to make a window that you can select out of the menu. And you can see in here, actually I don't need to see these, but the next thing you can, now that it's deriving from editor window and we're using Unity editor, the first thing you can do is you can actually make menu items. So that's what we're going to do here. We're going to make a menu item to call this from. We're going to say menu item. And we're going to put it in the trial 0 tools menu. And it's going to be called FX editor window. And then we're going to create an initialization function for this window. So it's going to be public static void init. And we're basically just going to have this line of code that tells it, that creates an instance of this. So FX editor window, window is equal to FX editor window, get window, type of FX editor window. And then we're just going to say window.show. So basically, I'll show you what this little snippet of code here is doing is if we go back out to the Unity editor. Now, if we go up to our trial 0 tools menu, we should see our new tool. except I don't see it. So we've done something wrong, possibly. What did we miss? Trial Zero Tools. Oh, I bet you I spelled the name wrong. Oh yeah, look. We have duplicate Trial Zero Tools tabs up here. What the heck did I do? How did I spell that wrong? So I'm just going to copy it from the other script then. Make sure we got it right. Oh, it's spelt wrong in all the original script. It says Trail Zero Tools instead of Trial. That's why. Chilling with your kitties, Skeet. Thanks for coming to watch the programming stream too. I really appreciate it. I know it's not the same as my other streams, but hopefully it's still fun-ish. Yeah, so now you can see if we go to Trial Zero Tools, now we've created this new menu item, FX Editor window, and if we click it, here's our window. It's got nothing in it yet, but here's our window. We've successfully created our window. So now we need to start populating it with stuff. So the way that we're actually going to draw stuff into this window is on GUI, I believe. Yeah, let's see. We got it right here. So I'll show you. We'll do some little testing here so you can see how it works. So we're going to do a new function called public void on GUI. And we're just going to put something simple in here. So we're going to say GUI layout dot label. And we'll say this is our new window. And now if we open up our window, we should see this label. So let's go back to Unity. And we'll open up our FX editor window. Yeah, here it is. This is our new window. So there's our label. So now you can see, like, once you get the window actually set up, it's pretty easy to start adding stuff into it. And you'll see it'll evolve as we do stuff here. So what we want this window to do is we want to be able to edit the different effect slots around the game. And eventually what we'll do is we'll hook up all of our different areas where you can slot in effects, because they're kind of all over the place. And if you want to change the effects on a grand scale, there's a lot of different places that you could potentially have to go to slot new things in. Although I've tried to limit that by making it so that all the prefabs already exist and the artist can just go in there and change it in the prefab. But just in case, and we're just doing this for fun anyway. So we're gonna add all of them to a single menu. So even if, you know, one of them is stored in an object over here and another one is stored in a script over here that have nothing to do with each other, we can have them all pop up in this window, and when you change them here, it'll change them everywhere else. I love doing that kind of thing. Like I was saying, that's what I did with the developer options menu here. All of these different options that I have in here are all like spread across different scripts throughout the game, but I've brought them all together into this one easy to use window so that you can just open it up and edit all the stuff that you need to edit all at once. And really, we could probably make this FX window another tab on this one, but we're not going to do that though, because it doesn't really fit with that like overall theme. So what data are we going to need? We're going to need, so what data? We're going to need a reference to the scriptable object with the effects slots, and we're going to need VFX slots to add, prefabs into. And I'd also really like to do images of the items associated with each VFX. So, let me just take a peek and see if I remember how to do this exactly. From before. Right, devtweaks.instance.gameplay. Okay, so that's what we're going to do here. We're going to create a new function and call it the itemFX menu. And, oh shit, we already have something called that. We'll call it the itemFX GUI. And we're going to bring in the itemFX default data, because that's the data that we're going to want to edit here. That's all the data that's all the things we should need to bring in, I think. And then we're going to call this from our onGUI. So we're going to say itemFX default data, and we're going to pass in databanks dot instance dot itemFX data. Wait, what? Oh, because I typed in the wrong thing. And now we're going to make slots to put this stuff in. So, I believe that we're going to be making object slots, though I can't remember exactly. So I'm going to look at the input options thing that I did over here. Right, editor GUI layout dot object field. Okay, so that's what we're going to do for each of our effects here. So we're going to say, we're going to say data dot itemFX data at 0 dot trigger is equal to and we're going to have this as a type. FX trigger is going to be the type that you can pass in here. Editor GUI layout dot object field. And what parameters do we need? We need serialized property and GUI layout options. Okay, key sprite. We're going to do this too. We're going to create custom label for this and stuff. So you can create like a custom label and tooltip for this thing that you're entering here by creating a new GUI content. Now I believe, let's see what these need to be. Image. And we're just going to have a string that says what type of item it is. So it's going to be data.itemFX data at 0. And eventually we'll turn this into a loop so that it just goes through all of them. .type .name. Or .toString maybe. Yeah, type.toString. Okay, what doesn't it like about that? Well, we can get rid of that for now then. I'm going to tell it the type again here, so it's an FX trigger. Oh, it doesn't like this for some reason. It says it's obsolete. There we go. Allow scene objects. Okay. Okay, so we may need to change our struct to a class. Cannot modify the return value of list item effects data dot this int because it is not a variable. That's what I hate about structs. Then I end up getting screwed over because of using them. So we'll just change this to a class instead of a struct. That should solve our issue, I believe. Yep, solved it right away. Doesn't want to do structs. So let's just take a look and see if this worked. So if we come in here, yeah, okay. So we have our window, and here's our new little box that we can click and drag our effect into, and you can see that it's actually already got the effect that we set. So it's item act effect projectile, and we can click the little circle beside here and search either our asset folder or scenes for ones, but I guess it's not gonna want us to do that anyway. But we could come back out to our effects here and we could drag a new one in. So if we set it to the enlarger when this one is supposed to be the projectile, and then we go back out to our project and back to our scripts. Oh right, I'm searching for something. And we go back to our item effects default data. You can see that it should have been changed in here. Yeah, so projectiles is now set to the enlarger effect. But obviously we don't want that. We want it to be projectile, and it's already set, so that's fine. So we got that window now, but that's not very nice. It doesn't tell you what you're setting or anything like that. So we want to improve this. And what I'm going to try to do is add a little picture of the item here and then have the spot to actually drop your effect in beside it here. So, in order to do that, we're going to go to our, where is it now? We're going to go to our mechanics option window and take a look at how I did it there, because I can't remember. So I have this item toggle thing that I did, and I have little pictures in there. Right. Editor UI button texture. And then what did I do? Begin was horizontal scope with all the toggles, but have the toggles have pictures on them. So we're going to begin a horizontal area of the GUI. So we're going to do editor, GUI layout. Dot begin horizontal. Now we're just going to start with a label just to get it in the right spot. So editor GUI layout dot, we do like an image. No, there isn't an image. Dot label. We could probably put a image in the label. Label field. Let's see what types we can do. So we can have GUI content. We can have a string. So we'll start with the string. So we'll say that this one is projectile. And then we're going to end our horizontal scope here. So editor GUI layout dot end horizontal. And so now we've got two items within this horizontal scope. So let's go take a look at how that looks in the menu. It should stack them horizontally. So now we have a title here that says this is the projectile, and here's the little slot for you to drag something in. But again, I really want this to be an image. And obviously we need to make this a little bit better too. So what we're going to do is we're going to say editor GUI layout dot begin a vertical scope. We're going to wrap this in like a vertical scope with a certain style here. So we're going to end the vertical scope, and we're going to create a new so it lets me put in what, a GUI layout option here. So we're going to create, oh wait, what else will it let me put in? A GUI style also. Okay, so we can make a new GUI style. And then we can tweak it. So we can say style dot, well, actually we want to make it based on something. We can make it based on a help box maybe. Oh, that's not how it's done. I forget. Let's go take a look. Editor style, that's what it is. So we'll make it based on the help box editor style, and we'll give it a margin. This is kind of where it becomes a little bit like web development, I guess. So you can give stuff margins and font sizes and all that shit. We'll give it a margin of, oops, new rect offset, 5 all around the edges. And then we'll make sure that this vertical scope is in this style. You can see we just pass it in just like that. And now if we open back up our editor over here, you can see that it should format it a little bit here to make it look nicer. Yeah, see, now it's got this little like border around it, and it's a slightly different color, and it doesn't get confusing with our label up here, which will eventually make into our title. And as we add more options to here, they'll just be like one after another, down, down, down. We could actually wrap the horizontals in the same style. And then let's see if we do multiple ones here. So we're going to be duplicating this. Well, actually, we're going to run through it like as an if statement. But if we do, we can do 2 here so you can see. So homing projectile. And let's save that and let's see how that looks. Yeah, that looks sweet, right? Like they're wrapped inside this nice little thing here, and then each one is kind of separated so you can tell exactly what's going on. And once we make this an image, they'll be a little bit bigger, and then we can make this one bigger to match. I just don't know this stuff off by heart, so it's a little tricky in spots here. Okay, so let's convert this. Instead of doing it this way, we're going to convert this into an if statement. So watch this. We're going to say for each so this is going to run through a list of things. So remember, we made a list of all of our different effect slots. So we're going to say for each FX trigger in... Oh, wait, no, not FX trigger, sorry. What was the other thing called? For each item effects data. And that'll be I in data dot... Whoops, that's wrong. Data dot item effects data. So this will run through each one, and then we're going to do this thing with our horizontal scope inside of this. So this should create a box for each of our things. So we're going to say I.trigger instead of listing it out. And same thing here. I.trigger. And our name is going to be I.type. And maybe .toString. Convert it to a string. I'm not sure if that will work. Yeah, look, it's okay. I think it's gonna work. Okay, now let's go out and take a look. Now it should make a full list of all of our items. Yes, look at it. Yes, beautiful. So now it's got all of our names and all of our items there, all looped out. And if we add a new one, it'll just automatically add on to it. So this is how we're going to do the image part. Because we're doing a loop like this, we're going to go back out to our item effects data, and we're going to add an image to this. So we're going to say public sprite identifier. Well, no, we'll just call it sprite, whatever. So each one of these will have its own sprite to tell it what it is exactly here. And then what we're going to do, we're not going to have a spot to set these sprites. We're going to set them up in here. So we can actually set them up in the code if we want. But we have sprites for all of these things, so I just need to find those. So they're going to be in art... The GUI, maybe? Items? Textures? Yeah, here they all are. These should all be sprites, I believe. Let's just drag these in for now. I could load them in, like resources.load and load it, but that's kind of unnecessary. We'll just drag them in. So what do we got here? Where's the Shockwave? Shockwave's right here, so there's our sprite for the Shockwave. Black hole, where's that? That's right here. Bomb is up here. Enlarger. The enlarger is down at the bottom. Archer, it's the enlarger. Did you just get out of the bath, boy? We got green shell, projectile. We'll drag that up here. We got the lasso. That in the right spot here. Where's the lasso? Oh, it's called the grapple, right? We just cannot keep our naming conventions consistent around here. Oh, and we got the red shell. Homing projectile. And sword. Okay, so we got all our sprites in there. And we're gonna display the sprites in the list here. The turn on button. Mommy's computer, oh my goodness. The turn on button, eh? And we're going to wrap this even further because like I said, we might want to put the other effects in here. So we're going to make sure that the players know that this listing of effects is for when you shoot the item. So we're going to do... Would 3 things be too much? Oh my god, it's Wall-E. It's the Wall-E game. We bought the Wall-E game for Archer because he freaking loves Wall-E. So we're going to create another vertical style here. We're just going to like wrap this thing up in all kinds of craziness. And inside this first vertical style... Oh, I guess we need our GUI style at the top here. Actually... We're going to make that global because we're going to be using it all over the place in this script. So we're just going to do that straight in our on GUI where we set it up. And this is going to be FX slots. And can we make this into a title instead of a label or something? GUI layout dot title? No? There is some way of doing it, I just can't remember at the moment. Building a sleeper PC, whoa. And then inside here, we're gonna have a secondary title here that's gonna be editor GUI layout dot... Does this one have a header? No. Oh, wait. Ah, yeah. Begin a fold-out header group. Right. So we're going to begin a fold-out header group that's going to be called item firing FX. And we need to create a bool for this up here. So we're going to have bool item act fx toggle or drop down, and we're going to set it equal to false for default, and then we're going to pass that in here. So item toggle or item act fx drop down, and then we're going to come down here and end that. Yeah, so we don't need this vertical style here. We're going to replace that with our, and then we're going to say end fold out header group. Now watch this. This is the best. Watch this. Watch. I love it. Ah, it's not working. But this...
What the?
Why is it not working? It should be working. Do those bools need to be public? Or they need to be set to true by default, maybe? Oh, right. Right. I'm dumb. So I need to wrap this in an if. Item act fx dropdown. So if it's true, then display this stuff. Now watch. Here it comes. I promise it's gonna work this time. Please work this time. Yes, watch this. No, it's not working. What the hell? What did I still do something wrong? Oh, I need to put the vertical inside, probably. Oh, wait, no, I don't. No, that's fine. Oh, I didn't end the fold-out header group outside of the if statement, so it needs to be down here. Is that going to do it? Is that the one? Is this the one, guys? No, you fuck. Please work, you stupid. Why is it not working? What the heck? What am I doing wrong?
Stupid.
If the foldout is true, then do that. What the heck? Oh, right. Have to set it equal to the fold-out group. Okay, now please, please, please. I haven't done editor window stuff in a while. Yes! Look at that. Now we can fold it out. So if we have other groupings of effects, they can all be like under their own little fold-out menu option here. We got it working. It only took 5 tries.
Get up here. How do I get up here? Hi. Wow.
You're getting stinky kitty kisses. Gross. Gross. Okay, let's just try this.
Get them.
We'll create a new GUI style for the item toggles as well. See if we can get this to work. Ah, it doesn't like the null. Dang it. I just want it. I just want. Can I do it as a label maybe or something? I don't want it to actually be toggleable. Is there a way to do a label with an image? Texture image, yes. Yes. Okay, here we go, here we go, here we go. Okay, let's see how that looks. Well, hey there, Rouse. She's cute not to let her give you the kisses. She's too cute. And look at my kitty. She's bugging me right now, too. Look at this cutenstein. What a cutie patoot. Right, Rouse? You cutie patootie? Hmm? You cutie? You got your paw on my microphone? That's your paw holder?
Oh, what?
She's working out. You're cute, Rouse. Cats always add to the stream. Okay, it looks like our image label doesn't really want to work here. Why not, though, I wonder? We're loading in the texture. What doesn't it like about what I'm doing here? What if I did an editor GUI layout for this as well? Oh, it doesn't like that. It doesn't like that with the image, I don't think. Is there a way of putting an image? It should be fine, honestly. Maybe if I don't try to load in the texture, I'll use the one that it already has. So, i.sprite, the one that I set up. What? Cannot convert from Unity engine.sprite to texture. Oh, god damn it. Forgot about that. I'm confused as to why that isn't working, but it should. I'll have to look that up, how to display a sprite using editor GUI layout. That's okay. For now, we got our string anyway, so it's cool. Archie, 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 Archie. Archie, I can't do this code. You gotta come do it for me.
No.
Oh, Alex, your first computer was a Tandy? Shit. That's amazing. My first computer was like, I'm not exactly sure. It was black and the screen was black and green. And it had like a word processor and like an asteroids type game. I'm not sure what it was exactly. It did have a 1/4-inch floppy drive. Or no, sorry, not a 1/4-inch floppy drive, 3.5-inch, or no, whatever. The big floppies. The actual floppy disks, not like the small floppies that weren't floppy, but they still called them floppy disks. I mean, if I just put a sprite thing in here, I could show it that way, but that's kind of dumb. I don't know why it won't show for me. Maybe if I just get rid of the style, actually, maybe that's what's screwing it up. Just get rid of the layout style, because that was originally for toggles, not for just a texture. Let's see if that does anything. Still doesn't want to show them. Interesting. I mean, it's a GUI layout label. Make an auto layout label with a texture. What's the problem? It just doesn't want to show it at all? Let me just put this like straight into the on GUI and see what happens. Maybe it's because I have it in like with a bunch of editor GUI stuff. Let's put it right here. See if it shows up here or something. Wow, it's not even showing up there. What the hell? Oh, wait. Oh, maybe because I have... Oh, I'm so stupid! It's not working because I had an error further up in my script and I just wasn't paying enough attention, apparently. Okay, let's pop it back into where I wanted it originally. Now it should work, I believe.
What?
Oh my god, it's so big. Look at that, beautiful. Look at that. What a beautiful menu. No one could ever possibly fit it on their computer screen. It's a masterpiece. It's like lag in Unity out. The pictures are so big. So we got to obviously set. That's why I created this item toggle style. So we'll use the item toggle style. Yeah, that's what I want right there. That's perfect. That's like exactly what I want. Except obviously I don't want them to all be the shock pack, but. Ooh, ooh.
Goodbye, Wally.
I want them to all be like their correct textures.
Yes.
I wonder if I can convert a sprite into a texture. I kind of doubt it. Convert sprite image to texture. You have to open your sprite texture and in the inspector change the type from sprite to advanced, then make sure that read write is enabled. Check apply and now you can read the texture and set it to a new texture like so. Huh. So can I just read a sprite dot texture then? I dot sprite dot texture? Get the reference to the used texture. If packed, this will point to the atlas. If not packed, it will point to the source sprite. Okay, let's give that a shot. Oh, look, it's kind of working, except something broke. What broke here? Null reference exceptions? Doesn't like something I did here. Maybe they don't. No, they're all. Are these the right ones at least? Projectiles, Homer's bomb. So it's having trouble with Rocket Roy? Ah, because I didn't set a sprite for Rocket Roy, that's why. Okay, just a sec, buddy. Okay, let's put the sprite in for Rocket Roy. Now let's open that menu and let's just awe at its beauty. Yes! We got it! Look at that beautiful editor window. We're just going to dock it over here. Oops, that's not what I wanted to do. So if we dock it over here alongside our other windows, then somebody can just come in here and be like, I want to adjust the item firing effects. We're going to have to adjust the size of this little box too. And then they can just see, oh, there's the projectile. They don't have to like look at the label. We'll also adjust the label so that this picture is like further the other way. Or maybe we could just do the picture and have the label after the picture. Let's try that quickly. There's a lot of messing around with this stuff to get everything to the right sizes that you want.
Whoa,
Let's see what happens if we do it that way. That's better. Look at that. That's pretty nice. We need to make sure that this goes further, though. I think maybe we just need to set a minimum size for these labels. Like they're too big or something. Like the label itself in general is just too big. Right, I didn't even set a style for it, so we could also use the item toggle style for them just to test. Oh, wait, no, we'll just let's try the subs. Let's just try the base style that I made. I don't know. Let's see how that looks. Yeah, that's not too bad. And now it's like a adjustable space there. That's pretty good, actually. Look at that, so nice.
Oh.
Let's make a new style for this and this, though, so that we can make them as deep as the icons. So if we give them fixed heights, so we'll make a new style here. A GUI style called item params style. And we will come down here and say item params style, and we'll give it the same margin. New rect offset 5, 5, 5, 5. And then we'll say, well, we won't give them a fixed width, but we'll give them a fixed height. Equal to the same as the fixed height for the images. And then we'll make sure that we're using it. So item param style, we need to use that style for our labels here. And also for this here. So I'm pretty sure we can just go like that. That should do it. Oh no, that doesn't like that. GUI layout options. How do we pass in the style here? It doesn't really want to give us the option to do it. It has to be a GUI layout option, but that's the same as all these other ones, I thought. Yeah. Oh no, they have GUI styles as well. Shit. Yeah, we need a version of this that has GUI style. Let's see if we can find one. GUI layout options, layout options, layout options, GUI layout options, layout options. Ah, I don't see an option for it. Not sure how we set a style for this guy. We might be able to just do like new GUI layout options. I don't know if it'll let us do this. New GUI layout option. Is there a height here? Oh no, this is... yeah, it doesn't like what I'm trying to do. So I guess we'll just leave this one as is for now until I can figure that out. But now if we come back out here, I think we should be good. Ugh. It's like pushing it off screen. That's so dumb. Okay, so it's... so we also need to give it a fixed width, I guess. No, damn it. We'll just use the item toggle style, screw it. It was fine. Come back to it later. It's not super important, obviously, the stuff that I'm doing. I think Alex is 1 year older than you, Skeet. Oh, that's going to be your case? Oh, you are 37, Alex? Okay. I wasn't sure if you're 37 or 38. Oh. Now it's working all of a sudden. No, it's still not. I don't know. It's being dumb. Right, we were going to use just style on it. Okay, yeah, that's fine for now. I like that. It's pretty slick looking. I'm gonna take a screenshot of that and post it to our Discord. And that's gonna do it for me for today, guys. I've actually streamed for like a half an hour extra that I wasn't intending. But thank you guys for coming to watch. I really appreciate it. And thank you for bearing with me through more of a boring episode. I know, not super exciting like some of the other ones. But anyway, I'll be back next week to do some more programming, and Alex will be back earlier in the week to do level design. And tomorrow, on Friday, we will be having our dev stream where we test the game as well. And, of course, tomorrow night, you can catch me over on my Twitch channel playing... not sure what I'm going to play tomorrow, but something fun, and then I'll be doing some Noita on the weekend. That's over on twitch.tv/markgamedev. So yeah, hope you guys have a good night. Thanks for coming to watch. And yeah, see you guys soon. Bye, guys.